Get the look for less with this brilliant hack. I grabbed a plastic pot from the dollar store and covered it in spackle. I used a putty knife to spread it and left it uneven for a textured look. While I was waiting for it to dry, I printed and cut out a leaf shape on paper. When the spackle was completely dry, it turned white. I spray painted it a chalky gray color. After that dried, I spray painted over top of the stencil with the stone textured spray paint. I did this all the way around the pot, and I decided to add a bit more textured spray paint over the whole thing.
To get started, we are going to be using spackling. So I'm just taking a simple spackling knife. We're gonna spread it on all over the pot. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna do like a stamping technique using chicken wires. You wanna just kind of press it in all over, and then we're gonna remove it. And you can see here where it's just gonna give it a little bit of almost like a beehive look to it. So we're gonna go ahead and let them dry. I'm using an indoor-outdoor spray paint by Rust-Oleum, and this color is Heirloom White. So now that we have both coats of the spray paint dry, I'm going to go in and I want to add some of this multicolor texture by Rust-Oleum.
2 blue buckets that I found at Dollar Tree, cutting the handles off, glue them together. I'm stacking my other bowl on top of it. We're gonna take our pool noodles and we're gonna start cutting them in half, putting enough glue and then holding the pool noodle in place to form the shape. I'm taking caulk, adding it to the indentations between my pool noodles, but I'm just gonna be painting this entire thing white. Stone spray paint, and we are going to spray it.
You're not going to believe what I do with this vegetable oil. I added ready mix, concrete mix, peat moss, perlite, and water together and mixed well to create a thick concrete mixture. If you roll it into a ball, it should stick together and then you know it's ready. Next, I oiled the inside of a 20-liter bucket using the vegetable oil, and I carefully packed the concrete into the bucket on the bottom and then worked my way up the sides. I went up about 8 inches and it was about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thickness. After it dried for 24 hours, I flipped the bucket upside down to take it out, and I used a small wire brush with water to smooth around the top edge and remove any loose dirt and dust around the sides and bottom. Then I used a sponge to apply brown, antique white, and gray acrylic paint around the outside, top, and inside edge of the concrete and blended with a bit of water.
This plastic dollar store planter needs a makeover. Now that the paint is quite thick, a quick sanding with a sanding block, I want to cover the entire planter except the bottom. I want to brush on some dark gray paint. I want to add a little white. Finally, I want to seal the planter with a clear coat. It's time to fill my planter with potting soil.
I completely transformed this thrifted lampshade into the most beautiful home decor. I removed the shade so it was just the wire frame. I used a utility knife to scrape off the glue. Then I sanded the wire frame with sandpaper and steel wool. I wiped clean and then spray painted it matte black. While it was drying, I sanded a wood round, wiped it clean, and sealed it with gloss spray Varathane. I applied 5 coats and then sprayed the last coat with satin Varathane. I pre-drilled and screwed the wire frame and wood round together.
Today's project is going to require some clothespins and a small bucket. The clothespins are easy to take apart. All we have to do is use some hot glue. We're going to do that with multiple amounts all the way around. Now on the bottom, I'll grab some rope from Dollar Tree, put a little bit of hot glue, push it in place. Just keep going all the way around. Now it comes time for staying. Next, we need a wood or plastic hanger. I took a square, put it against the inside edge, and marked 90 degrees. We're actually going to cut on this line. Once we do that, turn your bucket over, and then we're going to hot glue our legs on. If we do 4 of these across from each other, it makes it nice and steady and stable. Put one of those last bits of rope that I have on there, bring it around to the front, and I'm going to tie a knot on it.
Who doesn't have a dozen cardboard boxes piling up in their recycle bin? I decided it was time to put mine to use. I started with my largest box. Using my slice box opener, I started by removing all 4 flaps of the box. Once all the flaps were removed, it was time to make a mini box. I secured the long sides with duct tape and began assembling the smaller box. Using duct tape to secure all 4 sides and bottom together, I placed it inside and got started mixing concrete. I also tried adding 2 wooden dowels to later drill out for drainage holes. If you are recreating this project, be sure to line your box with packing tape for easy removal. After waiting 48 hours, just to be safe, I removed the cardboard to reveal my large planter box. After drilling out the dowel holes in the bottom and giving my entire planter a sand to remove any jagged edges,
I'm going to turn my foam ring over here and I'm going to use some contact cement and I'm going to put that all around the edge of my plate and attach it to the bottom of this ring. And I want to attach the other foam rings on top with whatever you choose to use to get some texture. You want to go ahead and you want to just put that texture all over. I'm just going to use some Fusion Mineral Paint in raw silk to paint your foam and the plate. My planters are ready to fill.
Grab a couple plastic planters and bowls. I'm starting with 2 plastic planters. I'm going to place one upside down and then use a really strong glue like E6000. On top of this planter, I'm going to add a bowl. And then we're going to put another bowl upside down on top of that. And then finally a second planter on top. I'm using just regular acrylic paint. Then I'm going to add some baking soda. This is going to give a matte, chalky finish that looks a little bit like stone. Now I can just use a wide brush and paint this on to the plastic.
Grab some pots, plants, and rebar from your local home improvement store. Start by placing a generous layer of rocks or gravel, then fill your pots with your selected plants. Once your plants are potted, begin stacking your pots. Insert the rebar into the bottom pot, making sure it comes through the drainage hole at the bottom and rests on the saucer.
I scooped up this metal filing cabinet from Facebook Marketplace. I took it out of my van and I put it up on some raised ladders and I removed all the drawers. Then I'm going to come in with this rust paint and I'm going to paint the entire filing cabinet. Then I'm going to use my drill and I'm going to drill in some holes in the bottom. To weight it down, I'm going to be putting in 2 bags of pea stone gravel. Then I'm going to go to my yard and I collected all these old leaves. This is great because I'm going to fill up the bulk of the cabinet with the leaves. So I fill it up till there's about a quarter left at the top, and then I fill that last quarter with my potting mix. Then I'm going to go ahead and plant in my flowers.
I'm going to grab this trash can, take the top off, we'll use that later, and I'm also going to grab a rubber stair tread. Now I'm going to use a really strong adhesive to attach the stair tread or the doormat around the trash can. This is going to need to set to dry for about 24 hours. So I'm using clamps and some twine to hold everything in place. Now that everything is dry, I can remove the clamps and the rope. I want to make this look a little bit antique, so I am using a silver rub and buff. I am going to put some drainage holes in this, and I am going to use a wood burning tool. I can flip the lid upside down and place it in the top of the trash can. And now I can fill the top with soil and plants.
I hit the hardware store and picked up some 2x2s and some 3/4 inch plywood. I measured and cut the 2x2s to the height of the headboard that I ultimately wanted to have. Once my frame was built, I added my plywood pieces on top. I screwed these pieces of wood into place. My next step was to cover it the way I wanted it to look. My solution was actually to purchase a 5x7 foot jute rug online. The price of this rug was only $62. Placed the rug around it and started to staple it into place. I absolutely love the way it looks. It was such an easy project, and it made the whole room look a lot lighter and more coastal.
I am going to show you how to make 3 high-end looking headboards using supplies from Dollar Tree. You're going to start by flipping it over so the white side is facing down. On the back, I am using 2 paint sticks, and I'm going to hot glue them over the creases. I grabbed a really lightweight towel. So I've ironed out all the creases, laying it flat on my table, and I'm going to put the piece of cardboard over the top and then just fold it around the sides and hot glue it in place. This is a really beautiful kind of beachy look. This next headboard uses peel and stick wallpaper tiles from Dollar Tree. And I laid them all out again on that trifold board, made sure that the patterns matched up. To finish off the edges, I am just folding that wallpaper over. Hang these up on a wall with some command strips, and you've got a really stunning kind of modern looking headboard. Dollar Tree has these rolls of shelf liner. So starting with a trifold board as a base, I am just going to unroll onto the cardboard. You want to line up all these flowers so it looks like one continuous piece. For the back of this one, I am going to fold the remaining adhesive over the back so the edges look nice and finished. This is really easy to hang with command strips on a wall. These are really easy to do, really inexpensive.
I headed down to the hardware store and picked up some 1x2s. I measured my wall and cut the wood down to size. I stained the wood. I made sure the first piece was plumb, and then I used a nail gun to attach it to the wall. Once I had the first piece in place, I used another piece as a spacer and then secured the next one. I secured all of my vertical boards in place. I secured the pieces on the ceiling. I used LED strip lights with a remote control. I removed the backing and stuck them along the wall and also up onto the ceiling pieces. Turning it on for the first time was exciting. I added a few more things to the room, including shelves in a matching color, curtains, and a bed. I love the uniqueness that the slats and lights gave to the room.
I'm gonna go right down the center and just cut them in half so that I have that flat edge to go flush against the board. Space the noodles out with a little bit of spacing in between, and then attach them also with the staple gun for some added stability. I worked in sections of about 4 at a time, sprayed a little bit of spray adhesive on, and then just kind of used my hands to firmly work the leather into the channels. I trimmed the edge at the corner and then just tucked it over and secured it tightly with a little bit of spray adhesive, and then also more of the staple. Once that corner was secure, I just worked my way down. What I love about this project is that it's completely customizable to fit whatever color, shape, or size that you need for your space.
head to your local thrift store to pick up a woven wicker or rattan basket. Start this project with a paintbrush and some white paint to dry brush all over the basket surface to give it an aged look. Take a longer piece of jute rope and separate the weave on the bottom or cut through it to feed the rope through. Tie a knot on the inner part of the basket. Get battery-operated puck lights with a remote off of Amazon. 2 strips of Gorilla Tape. Place the puck light on the inner part of the bottom of the basket. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy DIY boho outdoor pendant light for your home for less than $10. Step number 1, have this folk art acrylic craft paint. I'm using a dry brush, but I'm going to go in with my brush and we're just going to work on coating the basket. So we have the gray. Now we're going to go in with folk art honeycomb. And I'm just going to take my palette. So we're going to give this a couple moments to dry. And then we're going to take some fun farmhouse style ribbon to attach it to our baskets.
There you have it. Here is the after of my Pottery Barn hack driftwood aged baskets that I made for a fraction of what you would pay retail.
I bought these baskets from my local thrift store. We're going to spray paint them to start. I'm going to use a little bit of spray adhesive, but keep the stencil in place so it doesn't shift. I'm going to add a little bit more to add a little more sparkle. I'm going to use the same colors that I used for my fleur-de-lis. I'm going to continue using this metallic paint around the edges just to give this fabric kind of more of an aged look to it. Take this spray adhesive that I'm going to be using to apply the fabric outside to spray this on. All right, there you have it. My beautiful French country aged wicker baskets are complete. They were really easy to make.
The next time you are at a thrift store, pick up some inexpensive wicker baskets. Dip the paintbrush in the paint and then pounce. Take the brush and lightly brush the paint onto the basket in the main direction of the basket weave. This basket finish looks fantastic, styled with flowers or green plants. Take a wicker basket with a very light finish. Spray paint the basket in light layers with an oil-rubbed bronze color. Let the basket dry completely. Paint in light layers. You will notice that the paint dries very fast between layers because there is actually very little paint used. I hope this inspired you to give inexpensive wicker baskets an updated look with paint.
I found this basket for a few dollars, so I'm going to use this round drill bit. To add the lamp, I just need to thread the cord through the hole. Now that I have my pieces cut, I need to join the two together and use a piece of fusing tape and then hold my hot iron on it, and I can slip the cord right through the middle. I love how pretty this basket looks as a lamp and how easy it was to cover the dark cord.
We are going to start our project with these plastic garden fences. I got mine at Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by cutting the bottoms off of this. So I'm going to have it overlap and I'm going to secure these two pieces together. I'm going to be using floral wire. Now what we're going to do is we're going to basically connect these on the same place. We are going to take our round piece and we're gonna lay it over. Cut right here, place this over, and we are going to work on attaching this top piece to this bottom piece. Cut off the excess over here. All right, for this next step, we're gonna take our fourth piece of fence. I'm gonna cut down the middle first, and we're gonna cut the spikes off, and we're gonna go straight across. For this piece, cut across this top part. We are just gonna lay them on top of one another and we're just gonna secure them in place. This is now secured. We are going to attach this piece. We are going to add a coat of Rust-Oleum chalked linen white. All right, so now we've let the paint dry. I'm going to be adding some twine and we are gonna go put it out on my screened-in porch for where it's gonna live.
The next time you're at Walmart, be sure to grab some skewers.
I've got 2 hoops here, so I'm going to start with this smaller one. I'm just going to put some hot glue around the ring like this and stick my skewers right into that and just trim off your skewers like this. I'm just going to keep working my way around now, adding a little bit of glue and adding a few skewers at a time. So to form the sides, I want to use these longer skewers. I just want to cut off these little tips at the bottom. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on these. Now I'm just going to attach them to the base. I'm going to go and start adding the rest of my skewers along here. I'm going to use this to go around the top of the basket, and then I'm also going to go inside the basket. And I'm also going to do the same around the bottom. Stick a couple of handles on either side of the basket.
Hope this has inspired inspired you to grab some skewers the next time you're at Walmart and make this boho inspired basket. We're going to start by taking our paper cup, and you want to put a line of hot glue right around the bottom, and we want to cover up that bottom lip of the cup. And then I'm going to twist my twine up to the next layer. And we want to do the same thing. And I want to take a pair of scissors, and I want to make 7 cuts in my cup from the top all the way down to my twine line. And now that I've got my cuts in, I want to put one more layer of twine around the bottom, just a little dab there to hold it in place. And now I want to take my strips and bend them down. And now that I've got my paper cup open, we're going to start weaving our twine. You want to keep going around, one on top, one behind. And you want to just keep going around, keeping those tabs down for now. So I'm going to trim them off again. It'll just make it easier to keep working. I'm just adding a little dab right there, and I'm going to put my twine right into that glue and try and cut those pieces as close down to your twine line as possible. Off, we want to go ahead and put a couple of layers of the twine just around to finish that edge off and to cover up that top. Go ahead and put another row on the inside. If there's any areas that you feel like you haven't covered up, run another piece of twine around there. Now we want to go ahead and create a little handle for our basket. So I'm going to take a piece of wire, and then I want to cover my piece of wire with my twine as well. And we want to go ahead and put it onto our basket. These sweet little baskets are so adorable and were so much fun to make. All you need is a paper cup and some twine. How fun is that?
You want to take your rope, and what you want to do is you want to place a little hot glue on the rope and then start twisting it in on itself. So now what you want to do is you want to just keep wrapping it around. So I'm going to use this as kind of my guide. So we'll just keep going around, hot gluing that. Now we have our base, and we're going to start gluing up from the bottom of the bottle. And then you'll kind of wrap it around the bottle. You want to just, every time you glue it, rotate the bottle so before the glue dries so it doesn't get stuck. You want to take out the bottle and then cut off the rope. And I cut mine at an angle so I can glue it down in. Taking the extra rope that we had, make 2 lines of hot glue. I'm going to start with 1 and put another line of hot glue. You want to leave a little bit on the top so it looks like a handle, and then we're just going to cut that off. And then all I did was I glued down the ends. I just cut them at an angle like that to create our other side. That's it for our basket. As you can see, I did one more basket, so now we want to take both of our baskets and attach them to the branch. I cut a little bit of cotton twine, and then I just doubled it over. You want to loop it under, pull this through, and then you want to do the same thing again. And all we want to do is I just tied these right on to the basket. I took some flowers that I had from the Dollar Tree, and then you just want to put them like that. As you can see, I hung it on the wall with 2 small nails, finished off the flowers, and that's our hanging basket.
I grabbed a corrugated cardboard box and a tin can from my recycling for this elegant home decor. I cut the cardboard about a 1/4 inch taller than the tin can. I wet a tea towel and pressed it onto the top of the cardboard to make it damp, not wet. This helped to loosen it so I could pull the top layer off and expose the corrugated part. Then I flipped it over and painted the top 1/2 inch and top edge antique white using acrylic paint. I flipped it back and painted the whole corrugated surface in antique white, and then I started blending with the other colors. I used a sponge to add black, gray, and I spray painted some silver for a metallic touch. I added more antique white on top and blended it all together using my paintbrush. Once dried, I wrapped it around the tin can, hot glued it together, and now I have a knockoff galvanized zinc vase, and you'd never know it came from the recycling bin.
We're starting with a toilet paper roll, and we are going to cut it down to about half this size. So I'm going to be taking an X-Acto blade. I essentially want to create like a flat piece, and I'm going to go around the inside. I want it to kind of fall here. And so I'm just going to continue to add glue around the surface. So I'm going to take a big heap of this, and we're going to just start layering it on. So we're going to do essentially the same thing, but I'm going to start by over the exposed base of the toilet paper roll. So I let this dry for about 24 hours. I have a sanding block, All right, now that we've sanded this down, we're gonna wipe it off. Here is the finished product of this high-end modern donut vase dupe, and I really love how it turned out. So I'm gonna start this project with a empty marinara jar. I'm bringing out Mod Podge, and I'm taking food coloring and putting the food coloring into the Mod Podge. I'm essentially mixing it all together to turn it into kind of a murky brownish green color. I'm getting out a cookie sheet and some newspaper, pouring the mixture, the Mod Podge mixture, into the jar, and I'm spinning the jar to try and get as much coverage on the interior of the jar as I can. I'm going to set my jar upside down, allow it to kind of dry and kind of let the excess drain out. The jars sit for about an hour. We're going to take all of our bottles and we're going to make sure that they're top side up, and we're going to bake these at 225 for about 45 minutes to 65 minutes. And as you can see, each of them kind of has a different tint, so you can really play around with the colors when you're mixing up your Mod Podge. It's beginner friendly, faux vintage decor on a budget.
We're going to need 5 soda cans. Make sure they are rinsed out and dry on the inside. Now we're going to go and take a razor blade, go and cut the top of the can. You can go and take a pair of scissors and then go and cut off the top of this can. And then go and cut off the bottom. Now go and clean any of this residue that might be in any of the cans. Now we're going to go and cover all of these with just some sort of cloth, and we're just going to apply a small amount of heat to it to go and flatten it out just slightly. Now let's go and draw some leaves and cut them out. Let's go and mark it down the center with a metal tool that we have. Let's go and cut some floral wire. Now let's take our glue and then go and stick down the wire onto this piece. Now let's go and continue to glue down these pieces. Now you can go and spray paint it, and after that green base is done, I'm going over everything with a black that is very light. So after this side is dry, now onto the other side, use green spray paint first, a small amount of yellow, and then at the edges of every one of these, use a very light amount of black spray paint. And these look so cool after they've dried. Now I'm taking the larger leaves that I have, putting them at the top here, and I'm kind of just going down from there and continuing to go and attach all of these leaves. We're going to go and take the wire and twist it around. Now go and fill up your metal tin or your planter, take the wooden dowel, go and bury it into the dirt that you have here. Just go and space it slightly. Now this is what it looks like after it is done, and it honestly looks pretty real. You wouldn't even believe that this was made with aluminum cans.
I dug this alcohol bottle out of my recycling bin. I'm going to remove the label from the bottle, and I'm going to use some alcohol. I'm going to get rid of the sticky residue that's left over. This is just an old picture, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to fit in the exact same spot where the label was. Take some matte Mod Podge. I'm going to brush it onto the back side of the alcohol bottle. Just going to place my picture face down, and then I'm going to take a scraper and I'm going to smooth down the picture, removing any air bubbles. I let that set for a good 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm going to come in with some just plain white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint my entire back side. And then for the front side, I want to make sure I leave a little window here so we can see the picture in the back, and then continue painting around the entire bottle, leaving the window open. I let this chalk paint dry overnight. I'm going to go ahead with some transfers here from Dixie Belle, and I'm going to transfer some nice orchid designs here onto my bottle. I just placed a nice taper candle in the top for a nice candle holder. I just love this idea. There's so many possibilities. So I took these drinking bottles. I used some pages from a book that got wrecked, and I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge them on. And then I'm going to paint around the picture. I'm going to cover in black wax just to tone down the white paint a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do some gold leafing just around the edges of the bottle, put my taper candles in, and I am in love with this project. I took this fleecy fabric softener plastic container, and then using an X-Acto knife, I just cut off the top portion. Next, I'm going to take some craft paper. I'm scrunching it up to create like a really rough texture, and then I'm going to tape it on where I need tape to hold in place, and just cut out my handle, and then wrapping that again in masking tape. When I'm done with this, I'm going to create my paper mache, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip the envelopes up into tiny little pieces. Then I'm going to add just a little little bit of water before I turn on my blender. So I lay out the Mod Podge and then I just grab a handful of the slurry and I just spread it around onto my plastic container. I let it set for a full day, and this is my finished vase here.
First, we're going to repurpose a 1-gallon glass pickle jar, and then we have some decorative nautical rope. I'm measuring out vertical strips. Now, once I get all of my strips cut, I'm going to start using my glue gun to attach them on the side of the jar. And all I'm doing is I'm evenly spacing these out, and then I'll go in the middle of those sections and put a piece of rope, and then I'll do that, continue on until all 8. And I'm just going to start somewhere and kind of glue in a few places as I'm wrapping around, and then I'll glue the other 2 and it end up being a stack of 3. Just to give it a finished look. It would look good staged and styled for many different seasons.
Run to the dollar store and go and grab a glass bottle. We are going to start off this craft with a cleaned out plastic bottle. So now we're going to line this up with the bottle. Go and draw a circle for where this is going to go and fit. Go and cut it out, put your glass into the hole. Now we're going to go and paint our bottle. Let it dry. Let's go and get these fake pearls and start to string them with some pipe cleaner, but leave one end unbended. We're going to go and poke some holes into our plastic bottle. Take the pipe cleaner, stick it in there, take the other pieces, go and stick them in as well. Hot glue where it meets with the pipe cleaner and also the bottle. Got some fairy lights, and we're going to go and stick them into where we have the center hole. Now let's take this base here, stick it in place. I am using cotton for this. Now let's go and glue these down. Use your fingers to go and poof it out. Go and use a fork to really go and poof it out even more. This cloud lamp is sure to light up any room, is so much fun to go and make, and is upcycled.
Take an X-Acto knife and remove the lid flaps. Take hemp rope and a hot glue gun to begin wrapping the rope around the box. Take twine and begin gluing it to the perimeter of the bottom of the box. Take balsa wood oval or circle shapes and paint them with black paint. Print words to be displayed on the side of the box. Cut them out and use pencil to cover the back of the paper. Then trace the font on the balsa wood. Use a chalkboard pen or a white paint pen to cover the pencil traced font. Use a hot glue gun to attach the labels to the side of the box. There you have it, an inexpensive way to create your own pantry storage for your home for less than $10.
There are lots of ways to decorate your home with things you already have. Did you know that your toothbrush holder is really great home decor? Cut small stems of faux flowers and tuck them into the top openings of a toothbrush holder. Use 3 different types of flowers or stems for a beautiful floral arrangement for a bookshelf or table. Woven storage baskets aren't just for storage anymore. Hammer a small nail into the wall and hang basket number 1, number 2, and number 3 in whatever arrangement you like. This is perfect for storing bathroom essentials within easy reach. Take 2 woven tissue boxes and some round puck lights with a remote control. Glue the bottom of a puck light to the inside of a tissue box so it is centered over the hole. Run some hot glue around the top of one of the tissue boxes. Flip the other tissue box upside down and attach it to the glued top of the other box. Hammer a nail into the wall, hang your new sconce on the wall, and turn the lights on with the remote. Instant wall sconce. Grab some fabric softener and your favorite color of latex paint. Take some poster board and measure and cut out squares. Lay the poster board squares on the rug in a checkerboard pattern so you can make sure that all the squares fit. Mix together 1 part latex paint to 1 part clear fabric softener and stir completely. You will notice that the mixture thickens quite a bit. Add just a little bit of tap water to thin that out. Holding the poster board squares down with one hand, start to paint in the open areas between the squares. It's a good idea to paint all the squares lightly and then go back and fill in with more paint. Continue to add paint to each square until you get the color density that you want. This rug can be used in so many places in your home. Use in a hallway, a mudroom, or even in front of your kitchen cooktop. Grab a can of black spray paint and a roll of rattan webbing. Grab one of those outdoor folding metal tables. Clean it up with cut some paper and tape to the table so only the frame shows. Give the frame a fresh coat of black spray paint and let it dry completely. Outline the top of the table onto the rattan webbing with a Sharpie. Cut out the circle with some sharp scissors. Spray one side of the rattan with some spray adhesive. Spray the top of the table and let it sit for a few seconds until the surface is tacky. Place and press the sticky side of the rattan circle onto the top of the table. Place some heavy books on top of the rattan. Use some sharp scissors to trim the excess rattan from the circle. Remove the books and style your new rattan side table beside your favorite piece of furniture. Do you have one of those dorm-style door mirrors? Let's give it an update. Tape off the mirror with paper and spray paint the wood frame. Remove any spray paint from the mirror that might have gotten onto the glass, and then clean with some glass cleaner. Measure and cut some rattan webbing. Spray one side of each rattan piece with spray adhesive. Place and press the rattan pieces onto each end of the glass on the mirror, and place some heavy books on top for a couple of hours, and hang your updated mirror on the wall. Grab the pump from a soap or lotion dispenser and tape off the tubing with paper. Spray paint the pump, let the pump dry completely, measure the circumference of the bottle, and then measure out a piece of rattan ribbon with the same measurement. Run a bead of hot glue along one end of the ribbon and press onto the side of the dispenser. Screw the pump back into the dispenser and place your stylish new dispenser by a kitchen or bathroom sink. Grab some pegboard hooks and shelves from your local dollar store and buy some inexpensive pegboards. Do you have leftover peel and stick wallpaper? Lay your wallpaper face down on a table and position the pegboards on the paper with a few inches of space between each pegboard. Outline each pegboard with a pencil and cut out each piece of wallpaper, including an additional inch outside the outline. Cut out the corners of the wallpaper. Peel the backing off the wallpaper and lay the pegboard face down on the sticky side of the paper. Press down firmly, wrap the outer edges of the wallpaper up and over the side edges of the pegboard. Take a screwdriver, pencil, or other poker-type object and poke holes through the wallpaper and into the pegboard holes. Hang the pegboard with the hardware provided so it is secure on the wall. Line up with the wallpaper pattern on your wall with the covered pegboard. Insert the pegboard hooks into the wallpapered pegboard to hold your keys, or hang a pegboard shelf to hold dryer sheets in your laundry room. Style with pretty home decor or use to store functional items, or both. Keep your eyes open the next time you are out walking and grab a straight stick about 3 feet long. If you have a flower pot, you are already good to go. Take 2 styrofoam blocks or floral foam and fit them into your pot. Place the bottom of your foraged stick on top of the 2 styrofoam blocks and cut a trough that is roughly the width of the stick. Put some hot glue on the bottom of the stick and set it into the trough. Press and hold until the glue dries. Place in the pot and fill with any other empty spaces with additional styrofoam. Take the styrofoam cone and cut it so it's about 3 to 4 inches tall. Take a metal straw and poke a hole in the cone. Put some hot glue on the top of the stick and slide the styrofoam cone onto the stick through the hole. Take all of your olive branches and cut off each individual stem. Poke the stem sideways into the pilot hole you created in the cone until you reach the first leaf on the stem. Where the leaf meets the base of the cone, place a bead of hot glue onto the back of that leaf and press it upwards onto the cone. Hold it there until it dries. This is the perfect way to disguise the styrofoam cone. Continue to stick stems into the cone with a little bit of hot glue to secure them. Add a little green moss to the top of the pot at the base of the stick and display your new faux olive tree in your home. Set an edge of your lampshade against one edge of the wallpaper. Measure in 1/2 inch to 1 inch and mark it by running a pencil where the shade meets the paper. Spray the outside of the lampshade with spray adhesive. Roll the lampshade onto the wallpaper, pressing and smoothing as you go. Apply double-sided tape to the inside lip of the top and bottom of the lampshade. Wrap the overage border of the wallpaper over the edge of the shade and press onto the double stick tape. Take some more tape and apply it to the top and bottom of the lampshade. Take some ribbon in a coordinating color and press half of the width onto the double stick tape and secure on the inside of the shade. Do this for the top and bottom of the shade. Continue the lamp makeover by spray painting the base of your lamp. I hope this inspired you to give a tired and worn out lampshade a stylish makeover. Hand sew a simple over-under stitch around the perimeter of the placemats. but pause about 2/3 of the way through. Stuff polyfill stuffing in between the two placemats to whatever thickness you want. Then continue sewing the remaining space with the jute twine and tie off with a knot at the end. Using the upholstery needle and yarn, sew the pom-poms at different points around the perimeter of the pillow. Style your jute pom-pom pillow on a sofa or chair. Grab a basic Lazy Susan, I thrifted mine, and spray paint it black. Use some hot glue in the center of a jute placemat and attach it to the top of the Lazy Susan. Continue to glue the underside of the placemat to the Lazy Susan. Use as a serving trivet at a dining table or place plants on top, turning the Lazy Susan so each plant gets the best light. Or even style as a cool coffee station in your kitchen. Clean up an old planter pot and give it a makeover. Fold the bottom of a jute placemat under and glue it so it is secure. Do the same for 2 more placemats and then glue the placemats together on the sides. Wrap the connected placemats around the planter pot and glue the ends together where they connect. Your plants will love this new textured planter pot.
This plastic dollar store planter needs a makeover. Now that the paint is quite thick, a quick sanding with a sanding block, I want to cover the entire planter except the bottom. I want to brush on some dark gray paint. I want to add a little white. Finally, I want to seal the planter with a clear coat. It's time to fill my planter with potting soil and add a beautiful plant.
You are going to want to grab one of these plastic bowls. So I'm going to mix up some dark orange paint with a little bit of white. I'm going to add a little bit of baking soda. Now I'm just adding a light coat to the entire outside of the bowl. So I'm going to just grab some flour and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit onto the wet paint. Rub it in a little bit. Cut up some floral foam and put that into the bottom. I'm going to use some succulents that I picked up at Dollar Tree and just stick them in this bowl. I love how this turned out and it is such an easy painting technique.
Using an X-Acto knife, I just cut off the top portion. Next, I'm going to take some craft paper. I'm scrunching it up. But then I'm also going to use extra masking tape. So I'm just going to wrap the whole thing in this craft paper and just cut out my handle. So I'm just going to rip the envelopes up into tiny little pieces and stick them into my blender. We're going to be using some Mod Podge and I just spread it around onto my plastic container. And this is my finished vase here.
So I've got my vase and I'm dropping little spots onto the vase. So then I'm taking some cling wrap and laying that over the top, and I begin to smush the colours together. Lift the cling wrap and plop it down on another part of the vase. And so I keep going around the whole vase. I haven't added any more paint, and lay it on half of the vase and then very carefully peel it back. And you'll see that you have this really lovely kind of veining effect. And here is my finished vase. Doesn't it look great?
Found this storage box at the thrift store and it's the perfect size for my file folders. So I'm going to use some paint to give it a look that I really like. I'm going to use some black paint to help cover up that pattern. And now I want to add the brown paint. I love the loose and uneven bristles on the chip brush. The final step is to cover the paint with wax. The wax gives the paint a really nice supple feel that mimics real leather. I'm thrilled with how good this storage box looks now.
You're not going to believe what I do with this vegetable oil. I added ready mix, concrete mix, peat moss, perlite, and water together and mixed well to create a thick concrete mixture. Next, I oiled the inside of a 20-liter bucket using the vegetable oil, and I carefully packed the concrete into the bucket on the bottom and then worked my way up the sides. After it dried for 24 hours, I flipped the bucket upside down to take it out, and I used a small wire brush and remove any loose dirt and dust around the sides and bottom. Brown, antique white, and gray acrylic paint and blended with a bit of water. And now I have a modern pot that looks like a limestone planter for a fraction of the price.
I'm gonna grab this trash can, take the top off. Now I'm gonna use a really strong adhesive. I'm gonna put it all over the back of the stair tread and then wrap it around the trash can. I wanna make this look a little bit antique, so I am using a silver rub and buff. And I'm gonna put a little on the bottom of the can too. I'm gonna put some drainage holes in this and place it in the top of the trash can. And now I can fill the top with soil and plants. This is an inexpensive way to use an old trash can.
I grabbed a corrugated cardboard box and a tin can. I cut the cardboard about a 1/4 inch taller than the tin can. I wet a tea towel and pressed it onto the top of the cardboard to make it damp so I could pull the top layer off, and painted the top 1/2 inch and top edge and painted the whole corrugated surface in antique white. I used a sponge to add black and blended it all together using my paintbrush. Spray painted some silver for a metallic touch. I wrapped it around the tin can, hot glued it together, and now I have a knockoff galvanized zinc vase.
I'm going to turn my foam ring over here, and I'm going to use some contact cement, and I'm going to put that all around the edge of my plate and attach it to the bottom of this ring. And I want to attach the other foam rings on top with whatever you choose to use to get some texture. You want to go ahead and you want to just put that texture all over. I'm just going to use some Fusion Mineral Paint in raw silk to paint your foam and the plate. My planters are ready to fill. I hope you enjoyed this project. They were so fun to put together.
I wanted to make some planters for my succulents. All I had to do was glue my bowls on top of my candlesticks using a rapid super glue that I just picked up at my local dollar store, and then I pressed them together. I came in with this accent stone spray paint, and so I just gave this one 2 solid coats of the spray paint. And I planted my succulents in them, and I am so happy with how this turned out.
I have the storage container, giving the container a quick sanding. I always dust my molds with cornstarch. I'm just going to keep adding clay, remove the excess clay, release the clay, and I'm going to lay them all out. I'm using some tacky glue to stick them in place. It's time to paint them. Give the container a beautiful faux stone look. I think this box and the texture are so fun.
2 blue buckets that I found at Dollar Tree, cutting the handles off, glue them together. I'm stacking my other bowl on top of it. We're gonna take our pool noodles and we're gonna start cutting them in half, putting enough glue and then holding the pool noodle in place to form the shape. I'm taking caulk, adding it to the indentations between my pool noodles, but I'm just gonna be painting this entire thing white. Stone spray paint, and we are going to spray it, and here is the finished product.
step is you're gonna wanna drill a hole for drainage, and I'm just gonna drill straight into that hole in the middle. And then we're gonna get our bigger bit, and I'm gonna take a junk brush to bond with the bowl above it. I've got my first strand of beads. I'm just gonna take these one line at a time and just snip off the extra beads. And I'm going to repeat this process. I've got the stone texture applied. Now it's time to go in with my black spray paint. And here's a closer look at my DIY beaded flower pot. These cute containers came from the Dollar Tree. To attach the pink to the purple, I'm gonna go ahead and place the adhesive about right in there. Slide together, very firm hold. Top it right in the middle there. I've got a large adhesive strip and I'm just going to put it on the back side of my sconces, and then I'm going to attach it to the wall. I think it turned out super cute and not too bad for only $15.
Pick up some faux flowers, pull the top layer of petals off the flower, and remove the inner plastic cage. Reassemble the flower, grab a box of plaster of Paris and some water, and mix according to the manufacturer's directions. Dunk the flower into the plaster and swirl around. Take a tea light candle and set in the middle of the wet flower, and wrap a rubber band around the outside. After about an hour of drying, remove the rubber band and tea light. If after a flower has dried, you find that some of the flower's color is still showing, you can redunk it in the plaster of Paris to get everything covered. I love the white powdery finish of the plaster-covered flower. If you want to take it a step further, brush some metal leaf adhesive sizing to the petals of the flower. Gently brush off the excess with a small brush. Slip in a tea light, light the candle, and enjoy.
You're going to need some dollar store solar lights. Flip the bowl upside down, and we need to remove the label. Next, I'm gonna focus on the solar light. So we just take the stem off. We're not even gonna need that. You need to open up the solar light and pull out the tag so that the solar light works. Then you can place that back on, and this part is ready to be used. This will be the base of our project. What I'll be using for this project for weight are these dollar store rocks. So I'm gonna be placing them inside. For the next step, I'm gonna place the solar light in top like this. I'll go ahead and add a few more rocks to this. So what I'm gonna do is add a little dab of hot glue on each corner, like so. I'm gonna take that bowl and flip it upside down and place it right there on top so it's centered. So just to show you, if I remove this out, you can see here, I would be able to pull this off and replace this easily with another dollar store solar light if this burns out at some point. Here they are in my dish flower garden, and I'm thrilled with how they turned out.
I'm going to stick these grasses and weeds to this glass. Cut off these extra bits on the bottom. Now I'm going to stick the tissue paper to the vase. I'm going to use a glue stick and then just rolling it, pulling it tight on this side, some more glue down, and gently stick that in place too. I'm going to go around and just trim and just see how pretty these are. Really, really simple project to do.
Headed down to a local Dollar Tree. I'll grab some rope, some clear bottles, and some cool little lights. Just take the hook off the top of the light. Next, we're going to take the bulb off. Next, we need to take the actual light mechanism and pop it out. What we need to do is paint this cover. Now on the bottle, we have a cork here. We can go ahead and just remove that. Next, I grabbed off of Amazon a bottle cutter. Put the bottle on the rollers and you go ahead and start turning it. What you want to do is hear this noise. That means you're cutting right through the bottle, but it won't cut all the way through. I'm going to show you a little cut line on there. Stick the bottle in the boiling water for a good 30 seconds. Once you got it in there and it's heated up, immediately go ahead and put it in the icy cold water. It's going to separate along the score line, and look at that. Perfect. Takes off the bottom and you got a nice flat smooth line. Put the lights back through our painted cover and clip it back on. Take some E6000 glue and place it around the edge. Take some hot glue and put it in the areas I didn't put the E6000 on. That's going to hold the cover in place while the glue is drying. I'm going to stick the lights inside the bottle, set the cover on top, then we're going to take that rope, stick some hot glue on the neck of the bottle, let that hold, and then we're going to start wrapping it all the way around the neck. And then take this extra twine, we're going to put it through the hook. I made 3 of these and we put them up, and it made a perfect summer afternoon.
I found these colorful bowls. You're going to turn it upside down. You're going to take that heat tool and just press down. And we're going to want to do that to a couple more of these. I'm just going to use this to trace start with one of the blue bowls and one of the clear ones, and I'm going to take some Gorilla Clear Grip. You're going to want to put this on and then let it sit. Make sure that you get this exactly right. One more blue bowl. Let that sit right there. You see how you can see the battery packs down at the base? I'm going to take some ivy. See how you can disguise that a little bit. Decided to add a few white poppies, and you can see how much light these will bring to a tabletop.
Head to your local dollar store and pick up a clear plastic bowl, a metal flower vase, a floral foam square, and some faux flowers. Pull a wood candle lid from a used candle and remove the rubber ring. Spray paint this candle lid, the clear plastic bowl, and the metal flower vase. Use a strong adhesive and glue the candle lid to the bottom of the painted metal vase. Glue the painted bowl to the top of the candle lid. Give the entire footed pedestal bowl a light coat of white spray paint. Put some hot glue on the four corners of the square florist foam and glue it to the bottom of the bowl. Take pieces of faux greenery and stick them in and around the base. Next, take some bunches of faux flowers, stick the separated flowers into the florist foam. If you have any bare spots showing, fill those areas with a little green moss. Place the pedestal floral arrangement on a dollar store charger plate and surround it with green moss. I hope this inspired you to create a beautiful floral pedestal centerpiece for under $10.
Down to my local Dollar Tree. I'm going to start with these glass beads. I'm going to also head over and get some rubbing alcohol. Next, I grabbed this bowl, got it from Home Depot. I'm going to grab some sand, start putting it in the bottom. So you want to fill it up to where when you get your bowl, you're going to kind of be level with the top and it has a firm foundation. Let's go ahead and start putting some more sand in so that it holds it in place. Let's level it out. Make sure that bowl is firm. We don't want any spillage or that thing moving when we light it up. Go ahead and put the metal bowl in, and then remember those glass beads and start placing them all the way around. Take that rubbing alcohol and pour a little bit in there. Give it a little bit of a flame and it's going to light right up. If you need to put it out, you're just going to put a metal lid on top. It's great for just relaxing nearby.
2 blue buckets that I found at Dollar Tree, cutting the handles off. I'm going to be flipping them over, glue them together. I'm stacking my other bowl on top of it. We're going to take our pool noodles and we're going to start cutting them in half all the way down on both sides, putting enough glue and then holding the pool noodle in place, pulling the pool noodle to form the shape. I'm taking caulk, adding it to the indentations between my pool noodles, but I'm just going to be painting this entire thing white. Stone spray paint, and we are going to spray it completely. And here is the finished product.